Hey there, it's Colleen Coles, and I have a question for you. I'm wondering if you've ever worked with a coworker who was kind of like a drab to be around and really complained a lot about their job. Someone who was always around, who maybe was in the industry or in your job for many, many years, claimed they were an expert in what they did, and yet seemed to be really unhappy and also just like a drag to everyone around you. Well, I want to share with you a concept that is really crucial to make sure you don't become one of those people and how to actually really find what you love doing. Again, I'm Colleen Coles, and I am a life coach for millennials who want to find their purpose and really step into a meaningful career. And so I want to teach you one of the major tools I use to help clients really get into alignment with what they love and how to find it so that you don't have to become that 40 or 50 or even older or maybe younger person who really hates what they're doing and feels like they can't have a way out. Okay, so what I want to start with today is just a little bit of education, I guess, on what your zone of genius is. I remember not too long ago I was working at a steakhouse as a server, and I was really getting into this specific topic of like zone of genius and finding what you love and what you're really good at. And I was talking to a coworker who was a bartender, and he was probably like 23, 24, but I was like, do you know what your zone of genius is? And he was like, I think I could figure it out, but not sure for real. And I was like, I forget that not everybody has this in the back of their mind like I do. So I really want to share. Okay, so here we go. So your zone of genius is that sweet spot where what you love doing really matches what you're good at. So what you would do as a passion, if you will, matches your skill set. Okay, and so when we know what that is, we become like a big explosion fireball of power, of purpose, of mission in the world, and we become really, really good at what we're doing. So for example, any actor or actress or sports athlete that you know of who is damn good at what they do. Maybe it's an artist, maybe it's a computer programmer, but whoever has really excelled in what they've done is in their zone of genius. And here's how I know that for sure. It's because unless you have that fire and that passion, you won't really, let's think about it together. Like, if you don't have the fire and the passion, you won't want to stick out the hours to keep doing what you're doing and keep getting better and better and better at it. And at the same time, if you really, really love basketball, but you are overweight or 5'2" and 35 years old, you might never be good at it, and that's okay. It just might not be in your zone of genius and what you're meant to do as a career. And so, I think about Steve Jobs and Gates and Oprah and how they just kept pushing, and they also had a passion for it, which allowed them to become the best in their industry. Emma Stone is another example who I got the privilege, I guess, to go to high school with. At that time, she was not Emma Stone, so it was just another girl, but she's risen to the top because she has the passion for acting and also is really damn good at it. So what about for you? Maybe what's in your zone of genius? Maybe you don't know. It can be really frustrating when we aren't sure on what we even love or what we're good at. And now the third piece of zone of genius is to do what you love and what you're good at in a way that actually feels good to you. Okay, so here's an example. My background is in elementary education, and I was a teacher, mostly substitute teaching in a small school. So I taught, basically every grade in all different subjects. And for a while, especially when I was in college, after college, and had my first couple jobs, as a real teacher, if you will, I was getting so much praise for what I was doing. I was getting so much praise from colleagues, from the staff, from parents, and mentors, just on how great of a teacher I was, right? And how great I related to kids. And, hearing my whole entire life that I'd be great with kids and I can see you with the teacher really made me feel like I'm where I'm meant to be, but also a little bit stuck, like I couldn't go anywhere else because I would, break expectations. But while I was teaching, what I noticed was even though I was really good at it, I really started to not love it. And I got concerned because, like, why did I not like it? I was so good at it, and why am I not applying for more jobs? And why aren't I, doing those projects that I know would be beneficial for these kids, and I just can't find the motivation to do it? And I remember one specific moment when I was making a poster for the pre-K kids who I ran the after-school program, and I was making all these big letters, and she came in and she's like, well, why, you're great at that. You're great at that. Why do you say that you're not, or that you don't really like it? And I told her exactly that. I was like, when you're really good at something, but it just doesn't light you up? That's how I feel a little bit about this. And she's like, oh, I totally get it. What's funny about her, she actually became an entrepreneur after that year, so I bet she really did understand. But the point of my story is that just because I wasn't loving teaching wasn't meaning that I wasn't meant to do like teaching skills. And so luckily, because I was aware even then of this zone of genius concept, I was able to stand up for myself and say, you know what, I'm gypping these kids of an experience. I'm gypping and holding the space of another teacher who actually loves this stuff to get in here and get these kids motivated. And so I stepped out. Now, the beautiful thing is that now I get to teach, but I get to teach through live streams. I get to teach to my clients. I get to teach all around the world when I run, like my group classes online. And so what's so cool is that your zone of genius doesn't mean you don't get to use what you're good at. It's just finding it to be in a way that actually supports the lifestyle you want to live. And so maybe a great question for you to ask yourself is, what is the lifestyle you would love to live? What do you love to do? How would it look like to have a day that just totally lights you up? And what are you good at? These are all such great questions to ask and to see if we're in our zone of genius. Now, I want to kind of pose another question for you. Basically, I want to show you 2 ways that you know when you're not in your zone of genius. Okay, and these 2 ways are things that can really, I hope, motivate you to see that just doing what you love isn't a nice little tagline on an Instagram post. Like, it's actually a lot greater because you're affecting those around you in a way that can really either help or hinder the whole planet. And so these are 2 ways you know you're not in your zone of genius. You know you're not in your zone of genius when you just keep complaining about what you're doing and really kind of accept a victim mentality. Okay, so this first one is a really big red flag to know that you actually, you're not there. Okay, because when you're complaining and when you're just being that drudgery type of person, even if you don't mean to, or even if you don't identify with that, if you see that you're complaining a lot about what you're doing, even if it's a great opportunity, even if it's, thumbs up, hey guys, even if you think you should be, or it's a great opportunity, that is something that is not in your zone of genius, because when you're in your zone of genius, you love what you do. There might be some challenges, but you don't care because you love it. You love it. And the second way is when you really follow the shoulds. When a lot of your thoughts are, I want to do this, but I really should be doing this. When you're in alignment with doing what you're meant to do in the world, meaning you're in your zone of genius, doing what you love and what you're good at in a way that you enjoy life, you don't have to continue to think about the shoulds. When you do have should thoughts in terms of knowing you have to get work done or something, it doesn't typically start with a should in the same energetic frequency, or at all. So for example, I just finished teaching a class that I created called Discover Your Purpose, and it was a 10-week-long group program where we dived into the tools necessary for actually knowing your purpose on your own. Because it's kind of simple, and it just takes a little bit of tweaking to take the thoughts and your programming out of the game, like shoulds and oh, I have to, and oh, I don't have a choice. And then using the power of the universe, the power of your thinking, the power of your own soul, and what really drives you and makes you happy to really lead the way. So once you get that tool, those tools, and can transition it, you can go and go for it, okay? Now, so I think where I was going with that was that I just finished teaching that class, and there were times when I felt like I should be getting up and doing this, but once I got into it, it was something I really enjoyed doing, and I loved it, right? So when you think you have to or you should, yeah, you might have to get work, but you can pretty much know you're not really in your zone of genius when your thoughts start with should. I think about another story. I have a really great friend who just moved to Hawaii, and I remember she was telling me that we had lunch right before she was leaving, and she was telling me how like nervous she was of going, and how like she should be really relaxing and really, you know, enjoying her time, and I was you know, recommending books like The Power of Now, and maybe that's just a good book for you right now, and she was like, yeah, you know, I really should do that. And I was like, well, hold on, do you not want to? And she was like, well, no, I mean, I think it'd be a really good idea. And I'm like, right, but do you want to do that? And she said, well, I don't know. I mean, and I told her, if you don't want to do that, I don't believe in shoulds. I don't believe in shoulds, because when I did, I had a life I didn't love. And now I don't use shoulds. I don't believe in the shoulds. I do what I love. And that creates the universe to expand me and to allow me to come out of my own little shell of beliefs. So in that instance, I said, what do you want? And she came to the realization that she wasn't even worried about being really present. She was nervous about telling her family that she was about to move to Hawaii. And so once she got clear on that, and we stopped talking about the shoulds, which weren't even the issue of reading these books or, you know, having fun while she was here, she just was able to get the clarity to then go and have that conversation because she nailed the problem. So my point is that thoughts that start around should can keep us stuck, and you can know you're not in your zone of genius when you talk about shoulds, especially with what you're doing in the world, and especially when you think you're a victim or you know, you don't have a choice, because we do have a choice in every moment. And so, you know, for you, I mean, just like think about it. And the reason I'm sharing this is there are two cool, let's just ponder together. I might have to make another video, but anyway, so I just wanted to share about what your zone of genius is, and just for you to be able to identify what that is, and if you feel like you're in a victim mentality, and if you feel like your life is going in the beat of should, because it doesn't have to be, and you can be way more productive, way more in alignment, and loving whatever that thing is, like finding your thing through what you love. So if you ever need help, you know, what is in your zone of genius? You know, think about it that way. Like what is in your zone of genius? What would you love? But if you ever have a hard time figuring that out, like how to do that, that's something I can help, or can help guide you to it. And I love clarity calls where I just give you an hour and we can come up with a game plan of how you can figure this out for you, like zone of genius for you, the tools for you. So if that's something you're interested in, feel free to PM me or personal message me. But the point is to really identify what your zone of genius is, and to know this habit, this concept for yourself, because it can definitely get you unstuck. It can definitely get you towards living the life you're truly meant to live. And you know, that's the biggest part. So I'm going to sign off for today and allow you to think about what's in your zone of genius, and I will talk to you soon. Last thing, which is really exciting, I have a new training out, and it's a free 45-minute training. It's called How to Trust Your Intuition, which is another awesome tool, and turn self-doubt into confidence now. So I will leave the link right here for you at Colleen Coles, and dig that. It's great. Lots of love to you, and talk to you soon. Bye-bye.